Elsa.
Elsa Smithgall from the Field Museum, one of the curators of the exhibition about Merritt Chase. So, what is the importance of this painter in the American landscape of art?
We're looking at some beautiful examples of William Merritt Chase's work with the landscape surrounding the home in Shinnecock, where he would spend the summers teaching at the Shinnecock Summer School of Art. And it shows how he's assimilated the Impressionist language into his own American vernacular. And you see the beautiful way that he is capturing the light and the conditions of the atmosphere in these beautiful works that you see here on this wall. And it's at a moment where Chase is, having been very familiar with the European style of Impressionism that he had observed when he was living abroad in the 1870s and continuing to visit Europe in the 1880s. But coming back now and looking out here in these beautiful scenes that capture the landscape with the beautiful views into the water, these scenes of everyday life, of leisure that he's capturing. The immediacy of that impression is really what you see, the sense of the children and the family enjoying these outdoor days by the water, the flickering brushwork, the touches of color. One of the things I think about Chase, that he is an incredible colorist, and he is known for providing these beautiful little accents of color. In this particular scene, if you look just at those brightest, vivid reds that he uses very discreetly, you'll see it in the dress of this young child, in the bucket that's being held here by her playmate, or by the hat here. So he's really drawing our eye through the scene with these beautiful hints of color. And also you'll see the way he has framed the view along these really dramatic diagonal perspectives. He was also very familiar with Japanese art, and they of course favored those diagonal asymmetrical viewpoints, and it is something that you'll see Chase adopting as well in the works before us here. And at the same time, sometimes he zooms in, and I just want to point out one that's a little bit different, because this is just this very narrow but plunging, just incredibly sharp diagonal composition. Where you see, if you look very carefully, a gentleman sitting on the edge of the pier. So this picture is called The Lone Fisherman, and here you see the fisherman, who is thought to have been modeled by Chase's father.
That seems a kind of rock himself.
It's very rocky here by the pier, but there is this one little figure in the distance that you have, if you look very carefully, you'll see the hat that he's wearing there. And you see that Chase, in a way, this makes me think about the close-up dramatic photographs. The fact that photography is also really coming into its own is an important aspect of art. And you see the way that Chase is also familiar with the developments in photography and adopting some of the framing devices of the close-up. It is something that Chase certainly spoke about. So he was friends with some of the photographers of his time. Edward Steichen does a beautiful portrait of Chase, for example. But he is certainly coming up with something very bold if you look at this particular work as an example. So this is a really important period, a mature period in Chase's work from the 1890s. And it again is inspired by these summers he's spending in the area of Long Island, the eastern fork of Long Island, New York.
He's one great influence in the American painting, coming back to what he studied and saw in Italy, and especially in Venice, toward the light and the representation of some painting. That is something about the Impressionism in France, but I don't think that this is really what he wanted to represent, the way the Impressionists show and painted. He's completely different. The inspiration, light, and everything, but he developed this in a very different way, as we have seen here. And what is the influence he took from Italy?
I think that when he does have that early experience in Italy at the very beginning of his career, it is at that before that point he was known as a still life painter. So I do think that he has been inspired to think about capturing the beautiful outdoors and the effects of light and atmosphere. But it is certainly true that Chase was one of his greatest sayings was, "Be like a sponge, absorb everything, and then make it your own." And I think that is exactly what he does in terms of Impressionism, is that he's recognizing the best from that in terms of what those artists were able to capture with paint, and then ultimately finding his own way, his own vision for the landscape. And really it's about that immediacy. It's about painting out of doors. That's also very important to him, as it was important for the Impressionists. But I think that because of his Munich training, he's also had this emphasis on the brushwork, the bravura of the brushwork. And so in a way you see there is some broader brushwork in some of these. They're not always those short brushwork. So there's sort of a kind of an assimilation going on between what he's taken from his Munich training and what he's then adapting and evolving as he's growing as an artist.
May we say that Merritt Chase was a kind of bridge in between the European contemporary and old ancient art and the newborn American art?
I think that he bridges old and new traditions very, very beautifully, but very self-consciously. So he is an artist who admires so much the old masters, and then also wants to reinvent a new language for art of his own time. And I think that for him that means also that you adopt subject matter that is very much the modern subjects of one's time. So the idea that he's capturing settings that had not been captured before, the idea that you are looking at the importance of everyday life in your own time, that there was a rising middle class, a rise in the leisure class that you sort of see represented in some of these beautiful outdoor scenes. But I think that definitely that there is this transition going on, and a real renaissance in a way for American art just at the turn of the 20th century.
Thank you.